The Supreme Court says, yes, we will take your case. We'll explain how the outcome could impact your rights. Hi, I'm Stuart Shepard, and this is First Liberty Live. Thank you for liking and sharing our videos. We appreciate the fact that you help us meet new people out there by sharing these messages around and about. And it's big news today. I've got Nate Kellum. He's a First Liberty attorney based in Memphis, Tennessee. Hi, Nate. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing great, especially after the grant from the Supreme Court.
This is a big deal. This is a story, Nate, that happened in two parts. So I want to keep it separate that way. So the first part is what happened in the public park to this guy who just wants to share the gospel. Tell his story.
Yeah, Stuart, we have the really the privilege to represent Gabe Olivier. He lives in the Brandon, Mississippi area, and he is a family man. He loves his family. He's a successful small business owner. He operates a lawn care operation that does pretty well in that area. And also, he is a passionate Christian. And so he loves to share the faith. He loves to share the good news of Jesus Christ. And so he wanted to do it in a local park, Quarry Park, located in Brandon, Mississippi, outside of the amphitheater, where he could find a lot of people either coming to the amphitheater or leaving the amphitheater, so that he could share the news about Jesus with them. And so what he found out when he showed up on May 2021 is that the city had actually passed a law that would curb his activity significantly. Essentially, they told him that, yeah, we got a special spot for you, and it was some 300 feet away from where people would be walking. And even within this small spot, if they had a sign, they had to hold it low so nobody could really see it. So basically, they put him in an area where he can neither be heard nor seen, and that seemed to be the whole idea behind the law. And so he took a look at it. It didn't seem like it was very workable to him. So he walked on back to the area where he thought he could actually reach people, where people could hear the gospel. But he was soon met with the chief of police. Chief of police said, hey, we're going to apply this law to you. He tried to engage in a civil conversation with the chief, point out some constitutional flaws with the ordinance. The chief had a little patience for that discussion, but frankly, Stuart, not much. And so he was soon arrested, and then he was released of his own recognizance because it was only a misdemeanor. But because he did violate the letter of the law, he paid a fine. But that's when we heard from him, and he wanted to challenge this law because he wanted to.
And let's talk about this as a separate part, because I want people to understand that's the backstory of what set this up. And he paid the fine, but he didn't plead guilty, correct? He just said.
He pled no contest, essentially because he realized that, yeah, the law said you had to go to this remote box in order to speak. He didn't go to that remote box, and so he understood that. However, he thought then, he still thinks today, that law is unconstitutional. So that's why he pled no contest.
And that's where we got involved with this. Well, you got involved with it years ago. You just joined us not too long ago here at First Liberty. We're thankful that you're here and part of our team. But this is the part that led to the lawsuit, and that is he went to challenge it, and he found a spot in the law. It's kind of a dead zone, like the law is broken in this particular area, and that leads to problems. Describe for us the problem he ran into.
It really is a problem, and a dead zone is a great way to put it, Stuart, because you would think that he would have a right to challenge this law, because not only did he want to go to it that particular day, but because he lives in the area, he wanted to go out there for future events. He wanted to go out there and be able to speak without risking arrest. So he was basically coming to me and at that time and saying, hey, what can we do about this? And we thought we could challenge the law. Is the law constitutional or is it unconstitutional? But the thing is, Stuart, we never got to that point because the court pulled out this case called Heck v. Humphrey. It was decided in 1994, and it really relates to prisoners and how they can go about making claims and challenges to their sentences and to their either the length of it or the fact that they're in prison at all. And the court applied this case saying, no, if you have pled no contest to a criminal law, then that was your day in court. You don't get a day in federal court. You can't challenge a law as far as whether it's constitutional ever. And that was really a shocking ruling. But it just continued, Stuart, because we appealed to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and a panel of the Fifth Circuit agreed, said yes, Heck
Wow.
v. Humphrey applies here, and you cannot pursue a claim. And then, interestingly, we pursued an en banc petition, but it really revealed that there's much debate about this because by a 9-8 count, they decided not to take the case en banc.
Wow. So if I can summarize then, he stepped out of the free speech zone that they tried to limit him to because he couldn't talk to anybody from there. They ultimately fined him. He paid the fine, didn't plead guilty. He just said, I'll pay the fine, I want to move on. But that leaves him in a spot where he is now not allowed to challenge the ordinance, which he feels is unconstitutional. Here he is, he's been, in a legal sense, injured by that ordinance, but now because he paid the fine, he can't do anything about it? Am I getting it right?
Yeah, that's right, Stuart. And not only did it injure him on that particular day, but it continues to injure him because he wants to go out tomorrow. He wants to go out next week, and yet he can't do that. He can't even challenge the law that keeps him from doing that. The court doesn't even get to the merits. So it is definitely a dead zone in the law.
So as this goes up to the Supreme Court, it's about a fine point in the law, we get that. But the result of a Supreme Court decision could really change things for all of us concerning our religious freedom and our civil rights. Explain how that connection could happen.
No question, Stuart. And we're thrilled that the Supreme Court took the case because they only take a few cases. And I think what it reflects is really the importance of this issue because you're talking about really two intersecting rights. First is the right to be able to share your beliefs, share your views to your neighbors in a public place. We all should have that right. But when that right is infringed, we have another right, and that is we have a right to our day in court. That if there's a constitutional infringement, should we not have the right for a judge to decide? And that's really what's at stake here, and that's what the Supreme Court is going to consider.
All right. Now, I was very encouraged, Nate, when I heard who is going to be arguing this case on our behalf, on Gabe's behalf at the Supreme Court. Tell us about the lawyer who will be bringing this.
It's Allison Ho with Gibson Dunn, and it's really a pleasure to work with Allison. It's a privilege to work with Allison. She's really one of the top constitutional Supreme Court litigators in the country. And so to be able to have her work on this case really was a huge coup. And really, I think it's something that the Supreme Court justices paid attention to when they decided to take this case.
I've talked to Allison. She's very sharp, very capable. As you mentioned, she has a really good record at the U.S. Supreme Court. And most significantly, she's a top-tier attorney, but she's taking this case on for free. And my understanding is this is the first time she's taken a pro bono case all the way up to the Supreme Court, right?
Yeah, she's worked with us, and she's done a considerable amount of pro bono work over the years because she has a heart for it. But this is the first time that she's had a chance to have this type of case, a religious liberty case, at the Supreme Court, and she is absolutely thrilled about it, and we're thrilled to have her.
This goes back to Kelly Shackelford's vision for First Liberty Institute. And that is that we have top attorneys working for us, you're one of them, who understand religious freedom and how it fits into the law. But then we network with volunteer attorneys all over the country who are very accomplished and at the top of their field in many cases, who then take on those cases. So you get the subject matter knowledge, if you will, the expertise from our team merged with the expertise at a very high level with those attorneys. It's just an incredibly powerful result that can come out of that when those two meet in a courtroom.
It is, Stuart. Supreme Court litigation is really a very it's a limited niche. Not many people do it. Not many people understand it. There's all types of rules as far as how you put a brief together, what kind of printer you have to get to put it together. Yeah, there's booklet, and then there's all types of things that you really have to know, and so it's really helpful to have a Supreme Court insider as part of the case, and that's what we have in Allison Ho.
All right. Do I have any idea yet when the case will be heard by the U.S. Supreme Court? When can we expect to be on the steps out front?
Not sure. We don't have a schedule yet. Of course, we're still just basking in the glow of receiving the great news about the grant. But we will receive a schedule soon. And what I would suspect is it probably will be sometime in January. Could be December. But at this point, I would guess January.
So sometime during the winter, we'll be out there. Nate, I want to give you a chance to let people know how they can pray for you, for Allison, and for Gabe as we move this case toward the Supreme Court. We have a lot of folks who are faithful prayer warriors out there, and they're always asking us, how can I pray for you? What would you suggest?
Well, I appreciate you asking that, Stuart. There are several things that come to mind. Certainly, the result. I mean, this is a very important case. It personally affects Gabe, but it goes well beyond him. It goes really of others who want to be able to share the gospel, or for that matter, any of you in public space. And so, just the ability to do that, the ability to have the right to pursue those claims in court, is just absolutely fundamental. And so it is really critical that the Supreme Court get this right. And so we would ask that you boldly pray for a positive result here for Mr. Olivier. But also pray for him personally. The city and perhaps some unfavorable media members, I think, might try to paint him as something that is not normal, perhaps attack his speech, his beliefs. And so he could come under attack. Of course, we've dealt this kind of thing before with other clients at First Liberty. And it's a very unfortunate, but is bound in reality of things that we see when we have these types of cases and that are this important. And so I would just pray for him personally that he have the strength and courage to be able to take these things on.
All right. Nate Kellum, thank you for sharing with us today. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, Stuart, as always.
All right, we'll be cheering for you. Supreme Court cases take a lot of resources, a lot of expertise, and it does cost money to take them up there. And we would appreciate your support as we go through these months ahead, prepping for that court appearance coming up sometime this winter. If you want to see America's religious heritage defended, you can make that happen by supporting First Liberty Institute. Just look for the big red Give button up at the top of the website. First Liberty is fighting for what matters most.